So in this video, we will list the double and half angle identities for sine, cosine, and tangent. We'll start with cosine, and we'll start with the double angle formula for cosine, cosine of 2 theta. Now, instead of just deciding what it is, I'm going to show you that it's not that complicated if you watch the previous videos and you understand the sum angle formula for cosine. This is not very hard, because I can write this as cosine of theta plus theta. Of course, 2 times something means you have 2 of them, right? 2 times x is x plus x. So now I can use the sum angle formula for cosine. I can say, okay, well, this is going to be cosine theta, right? Because cosine of alpha plus beta is cosine alpha, cosine beta to start with, minus sine theta, sine theta. So that's the format of the sum angle formula for cosine. So I get cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. Okay, so that's, I guess, the first of the double angle formulas for cosine. There's actually 2 more. I'll skip going into why they're correct, but basically, if you manipulate this one using Pythagorean identities, if you use, let's make a side note, use cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1, then you can get the other 2. If anyone would like to see that, just email me or post in the comments, hey, can we please get the detail on that? I mean, I don't mind doing it, I just don't want to go into all the detail. We can go into some detail. So, here's the first one. Now this is equivalent to 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. That's the second one. And then this is also equivalent to 1 minus 2 sine squared theta. And all 3 of these are important. We're going to use 2 of them at some point. Really, these last 2 are implicit in the half angle formulas, and maybe we'll demonstrate one of those. Not all of them, but maybe we'll do one of them. So let's go look at sine. What's the double angle formula for sine? So sine of 2 theta, this is 2 sine theta cosine theta. There's only one. There's not multiple versions of this one. So this shows up in later courses, Cal 1 and Cal 2. So for the exams in this course, you don't need to memorize these. You'll be able to use a formula sheet. But for Cal 1 and Cal 2, you should assume you're going to need to know them, that you'll be expected to know them. For tangent, basically, we can get these, the one for tangent by dividing sine 2 theta over cosine 2 theta, and we can derive a formula for tangent, but I'll just say what it is rather than going through all the steps of how to get it. So tangent of 2 theta, this is going to be 2 tangent theta. Actually, this one, I'm sorry, I misspoke. This one you can get from the sum angle formula for tangent. You do not need these formulas up here to get this, although you probably could do it that way. Over 1 minus tangent squared theta. Yeah, this definitely uses tangent alpha plus beta. So these are the double angle formulas. Okay. What is cosine of 2 theta, sine of 2 theta, tangent of 2 theta? Now let's look at the half angle formulas. I'm probably going to run out of room. Maybe. We'll see. I might run out of room. We'll make a new page. So for cosine, let's do this. Let's say, let's back up a little bit. Let's say I'm going to use cosine of 2, let's call it 2 alpha. Okay? And you'll see why in a second. Cosine of 2 alpha equals, let's say this will be 2 cosine squared alpha minus 1. That's one of the double angle formulas for cosine, right? But I'm just using alpha instead of theta. You'll see why in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for cosine alpha, okay? So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So 1 plus cosine 2 alpha. So this is 2 cosine squared alpha. And then I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So let's do this. Divide by 2, divide by 2. And we can cancel those 2's, okay? So I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to put the... I'm going to need a new page here because I'm going to run out of space. Add page. Okay, so we should have an extra page now. Yeah, good. Okay. So I'm going to rewrite this so the cosine squared alpha is on the left rather than on the right. Cosine squared alpha equals 1 plus cosine 2 alpha all over 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'm getting a display error here. Yeah, okay, that's not the best. So, probably going to have to do this over again. No, it's going away. Okay, we're gonna this is pretty annoying because on the iPad it shows it fine. Okay, sorry about that. There was just a little display error, but I don't want to start the video over just because of that. Okay, so now what I can do is I can find the square root of both sides. I can say, oh, well, cosine alpha. Well, if I square root both sides, I'm going to have plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of 2 alpha all over 2. All right, and that's basically a formula we're going to use, but what I have to do is I have to replace and say, well, really, I want this guy to be theta over 2. Okay, theta over 2 equals alpha, or in other words, theta equals 2 alpha. So also, that angle will get replaced. So this results in cosine of theta over 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine theta over 2. And this is the half angle formula for cosine. Now, this plus or minus, you have to choose this based on which quadrant you're in. The formula cannot do that for you. So choose based on the quadrant. We're in a space here. Quadrant. We'll call that good enough. Quadrant. Okay. So the half angle formulas really come from the double angle formulas. I'm just going to list the other ones. I'm not going to go through all the details. And then also you might say, well, how do I choose this? Well, we'll do examples in a later video. I'll show you how to choose this. For sine, the half angle formula is sine theta over 2. This is plus minus. It's very similar. Square root of 1 minus cosine theta. If you go through the trouble of working this out from the double angle formula, in particular, you would use this one. This version of cosine 2 theta is what you would use. If you go through that trouble of doing that, you'll see why there's a minus sign. It's pretty obvious as you get partway through working out this formula. And again, you choose this based on the quadrant. Choose based on quadrant. Now, what you can do, and what a lot of formula sheets will say, is that to make the tangent of theta over 2, the half angle formula for tangent, you basically divide these two expressions. You'll take this one divided by this one, and that will give you a formula for tangent, and you'll have a plus minus that you have to choose based on the formula. That works, but there's a better formula, which I can demonstrate how to get it if anyone asks for that. I don't mind doing it again. We just don't have time for all the detail necessarily. This one doesn't have a plus minus in it. It just handles that for you automatically, which is pretty nice. So tangent of theta over 2 is sine theta over cosine theta plus 1. Why is that? Well, if you'd really like to see that, email me or put a comment. Say in the comments that you'd like to see that, and I'll go through those details if needed. Again, if you were to look this up online, you would probably find a different formula. This is the better formula, I think, because you don't have to decide plus versus minus. So there are the identities, and in future videos we will go through examples of what we can do with them.